Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another crypto live stream. Whew! I'm excited today. I am really freaking excited today. And maybe you can't hear so because it's almost 1 a.m. so I'm not screaming as much as I usually do. You guys already know my neighbors hate me very much so. So I'm most likely not going to scream like crazy. But what I've just found out here, guys, is most likely groundbreaking stuff. And the title, not clickbait. Because honestly, 1 week from now could change everything for crypto. Literally, 7 days from now could change it all. It's going to be one of the most important decisions ever. And I am really wondering what the consequences of that one decision will have for XRP and the lawsuit, but also, in general, what's going to happen to crypto as a whole. And there's actually a couple of things we need to discuss here. One side is this new thing, which I want to announce for you guys. And the second part of it mostly revolves around the implication of why things fall in the crypto space. I mean, why is this falling? Where will it go? All that stuff will be covered in a section in this live stream as well. So guys, if you find all that stuff interesting, you think you'll enjoy it, make sure you press that like button. If you end up not enjoying it, take your like button away. I understand it completely, but I try my best to get these live streams or videos as soon as possible to you guys. And all you have to do is make sure you press that like button if you did indeed enjoy it. Right now, because we did not have a notification, we have about 60 people watching, which I already think is pretty cool, about 12 likes. Make sure you push those buttons up so it will be shown towards more people. That's the only benefit I think we have there. And of course, guys, if you're not yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel, but that's completely up to you. All right, before we start off, I want to quickly let you guys know about my XRP trade. Little fun story. So I actually opened this trade a while ago. However, we were talking during a couple of our live streams about our best entry. Obviously, our best entry would have been right here once we had our completely engulfing reversal candle. Again, kind of like a second try with a confirming candle afterwards. Here again, we got our engulfing candle, but did not actually get a confirmation afterwards, so we don't take it. We should have actually bought in there. Unfortunately, we only bought in right there. Unfortunate, but hey, that's the way that things go. And actually, as I told you guys, we're going to face some resistance at the 77-cent mark, which is exactly what we have seen right now as well. And of course, that is pushed by Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is doing. I actually wanted to make a small little update earlier about how Bitcoin is coming right back towards his resistance right here at about 43,000 bucks. We're playing a little game right there. Let me actually turn this into dark mode for all of y'all. Into dark mode. There we go. Yes, let it load in for just a little second. This, by the way, is very computer intensive, if you didn't know. But it's actually also funny how we're playing a little bit of ping pong between all our most important levels, the one we drew out. And it's kind of funny to see for yourself as well. One of our most important areas right here, boom, $40,000. Second most important area at around, I'm going to say, our level we chose, which is about 39.5 thousand. We can clearly see these levels in which the way we call them out as well, right? We called out a couple of times that 40.5 thousand is where we're going to face our most important bounce when we broke through, and we actually broke through the 40,000 though. We broke through major support barriers. We went all the way down towards, I guess, our next most important area between these two. It's pretty funny to see the heat map in that sense, because obviously the majority of people look at the exact same chart, look at the exact same data, and then also interpret it in a very similar manner. So it's also something you got to look at if you're an avid trader. It's just something to keep in the back of your head. It's very important. Just a little side note. And also, once more, this is my new XRP trade. We have a long position open. It's not certain that the big bottom is in, as we can clearly see here. We had a nice little bounce, nice little almost engulfing candle, not completely, but nice little reversal here. Things are looking good, but we're not sure they're going to last that way. There's nothing really pointing towards the fact that this is going to stay on the up and up and up. I like all the people over on Twitter going completely berserk saying, yeah, we're finally in the clear, yada, yada. But no, we're right now facing the $43,000 resistance, which we already called out would be an important little battle. And we don't know if we're going to break towards the downside again, or we're going to play ping pong or what, because we've been doing that for the last couple of days anyway. You can see this was a bigger dip than normal, but generally speaking, we've been going sideways, sideways, sideways since about the 7th of January already. All right, to not leave you guys hanging, what is going on? Well, guys, let me announce it. So, Jerome Powell, you guys all know it. Jerome Hayden Powell, sometimes known as Jay Powell, is an American economic advisor, lawyer, and former investment banking, serving as the 16th chair of the Federal Reserve. Do you guys know him? You should. If you don't know him, a little bit of a problem. Might want to do a little bit more research into, into all that. He said something, and exactly what he said could change everything. Because look at this, guys. He said this, and every single crypto outlet is posting about it right now, and I'm really interested to see how the crypto prices will react to it. Powell says Fed will release a crypto report within weeks. But I've been checking out multiple sources on Twitter, and everybody is screaming that next week this new thing is going to be coming out. So within 1 week, potentially 2 weeks, potentially 3 weeks, we don't know how many exactly, but a lot of the sources say about 1 week from now. We don't know 100% certain though. There's going to be a new crypto report, and this can go two sides. Why? Well, think about it from this perspective. A crypto report could be, hey, we're looking at CBDCs from a certain perspective, and this is what we think. But I kind of believe that this time around, it could be in kind of the same fashion as we've seen Bill Hinman and whatnot talk about it, where they actually give some sort of advice, maybe not officially call it that way, but some guidance to the markets. But it's going to depend on whether or not it will be fully centered around CBDC and stablecoin, or actually have some more in it. Here they've said the Federal Reserve's highly anticipated report on cryptos and central bank digital currencies, initially slated to come out last September, again was stalled, we already called it out, will be released within weeks, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell told the U.S. Senate Committee on Tuesday. Powell, who was nominated for a second term as the Fed Chairman by Joe Biden, was asked about the timing of the report by Senator Mike Crapo during his confirmation hearing in the front of the Senate Banking Committee. Quote, "We didn't get it to quite where we needed to get it," which again might refer to a couple of the hiccups along the way. Powell said about the report's delays. But it's effectively there now. It's within weeks that we will be publishing it. So most likely it's done, but they're just waiting for the best time to release it, and needs to go through a couple of different heads first. Powell's testimony echoes similar remarks he made at a Senate hearing in November, when he promised the release of the report in the coming weeks. 2 months earlier, he said it was coming soon, and last July, he promised the report would be published by September. So there comes another caveat here. They're promising different things time and time again, but when exactly it comes out is to still be determined. Let me see. You said, Dusty, are you going to make Daddy G happy, Gensler, and finally sit down with him and have a chat? Gary went to MIT, Dusty. Come on. I don't think it's that easy to get Gary Gensler on a call. I mean, first of all, I'm not really qualified to ask him questions. And second of all, I don't think that's going to happen. Good idea. I like the energy. I like where you're coming from. But let's keep the theory on that one. You know, let's stick to the theory of it being a possibility. No. All right. So one of the things they basically put up here, sometimes I have like Dutch words in my head, which I think would be amazing to put, but I just don't know the English translation for it. Geopperd. That's been opperd. Let me see. Opperen. Engels. Let me see what the translation is. Suggest. Never mind. Put forward, advance, moot. I think moot is like a good translation. Didn't know that was a word, but all right. So one of the things that's being proposed here, suggested, whatever, is that it could be another little white lie, in the sense that he's just putting up a number out there, a couple of weeks, even though that might not really mean anything, because at the end of the day, they've stalled it many freaking times before. Then again, it's right now his confirmation hearing, so obviously this is what they wanted to hear from him. But on the contrary, I don't think he can be delaying it more and more and more, right? Eventually, there's like the finished product. And also, from a certain perspective, he says, but it's effectively there now. It's within weeks that we'll be publishing it. It basically sounds to me like, hey, it's already done. We're just looking for the best possible time to let go to the market. That's just me, though. I really wonder what's going to be inside of it, but this will most likely be the most critical report we've seen in about 3 to 4 years. I think 4 years, actually, since the William Hinman speech, most likely. And again, it's been waited on for such a long while. So this is the most interesting federal report we're going to see as crypto holders, I think, ever. I honestly think so. I think ever. So, yeah, very, 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 very big deal. The report is expected to focus on CBDC, obviously, the US CBDC and whatever they're going to do in that regard. a subject the Fed is researching and a popular topic of discussion at congressional hearings where Powell is called as a witness. At Tuesday's hearing, Powell was asked by Toomey, the committee's ranking member, whether a CBDC couldn't coexist with well-regulated, privately issued stablecoins if Congress gave the Fed the authority to pursue the digital currency. And he said, nope, not at all. Which, once more, is a very strange concept, because this basically is, hey, there's a CBDC, right? Whether a CBDC couldn't coexist. And he says, no, not at all. Meaning, most likely, if there's stablecoins out there, like a USDT, a USDC, whatever, the US must either ban them or do something about them, or not persuade or pursue any CBDC of their own whatsoever, because they can't coexist. And that's what they said right here. That's the scary thing. It seems to me that there's absolutely nothing in the history, the experience, the expertise, the capabilities of the Fed that lends the Fed to being a retail bank. Is that a fair observation? Toomey asked. Powell said, I would say so, yes. All right. But then again, there's more. Jerome Powell, if you just type in his name or type in Federal Reserve or something like that, you notice quite a lot of other important, interesting articles. Look throughout the last couple of hours. 1 hour ago, Wall Street closes higher after Powell testimony eases investors' concerns. Jerome Powell says Fed is prepared to raise rates to tame inflation. Federal Chairman, if we have to raise interest rates, moreover, time, we will. Treasury yields slip as Powell pledges to fight inflation. Stock market today, stocks gain as Powell testifies. IBM sinks. Warren uses Econ 101 to grill Jerome Powell. Not too sure about that one, actually. Didn't check that out fully. But you guys get the picture I'm trying to paint, right? Federal crypto report out in the coming weeks, says Powell. This could be a really heavy deal. It's going to be interesting. One topic that will most likely be in this report is that of stablecoins. So we called earlier how right now is a really scary period for USDT, right? Because we don't know if they're going to be either banned, regulated in some other way, shape, or form, or actually basically checked out even more severely. And this specific report could actually state, again, that CBDCs and stablecoins cannot live together, and so that the stablecoins of the US dollar, for example, are not allowed anymore in the US or something along those lines if the CBDC actually pulls through, or things along that nature. It could be such a scary reveal and also such a scary result. I'm interested. I'm really interested. He could mess crypto up altogether. I mean, it depends. Maybe he lets go of a couple of really important statements like, hey, we're really bullish on crypto as a whole. We're really this, that, and it's all good. Maybe it's really bad. I don't know what to tell you, except for it's a scary situation, and it's going to be critical to watch this closely. By the way, guys, if you're still here watching, make sure you press that like button. I'm trying to do my best to always stream whenever I have the time to get you guys the news even sooner than with a video. If you guys appreciate that, make sure you press that like button. Right now, XRP is doing really well. Our long position is thriving. We're almost $400 in profit on our $20,000 trade. And I'm going to stick with this, by the way, as I honestly believe XRP is going to explode throughout this year anyway. So I'm not really a guy to say, oh, it's actually a 26,000 XRP trade, by the way. I'm honestly thinking XRP is going to pop off anyway, so I'd rather just get some long positions in every single time I get the chance to. But remember, very often I tell you guys again about the little story of make sure you set yourself up before things actually happen. And that basically means you set yourself some price orders before they actually get hit. We have two price orders, one at 61 cents, one at 51 cents. And that's basically so that we will open those positions the moment we get towards those prices. So if we get another dip like this going, that we might actually be able to snatch it up. If we, for example, have ourselves a buy target at 71 cents, which you could do right now, you actually could go for a conditional, go for a limit. It depends on exactly where you want to buy it. But in this case here, we just have to put ourselves a limit at about 71 cents and just a quantity of how much we want to buy, open the long. It's as simple as that. It's just a couple of different clicks. Not too bad, not too crazy. And for Bitcoin, I'm also going to say, as long as we don't have a crazy negative candle here, we can basically speculate that we're going to breach the $3,000 mark. And guys, if you're looking for the next big trade, everybody here, everybody watching right now, if you're looking for the next big trade on Bitcoin, this is potentially what I could be doing over on Bybit. Hear me out. What we could be doing is look for, let's put this to 43,000 exactly, is look for the $43,000 mark. And the moment, this is what a lot of people are going to do. The moment we breach, we don't buy into it yet, right? We wait for the confirmation afterwards on a 4-hour time frame or 1-hour time frame, depending on how, the higher up time frame, the more certain you are that's going to stay. You could basically wait for confirmation on the time frame, buy into it, and basically have a stop loss a little bit below it. Because what then happens is the moment we breach through and get a confirmation candle, there's a very high probability that this is the direction that we're going to be facing for the near future. It's not a certainty though, and so we basically place our stop loss a little bit below, like for example right here at about $50 or $42.5 thousand, because that's a little bit below our previous touch support. I guess yeah, if you put it at 52 or 42.5, I think that's actually a really solid point to put it at. So stop loss right there. If we put it that way, let's actually put in a thing completely. Actually, let's put up a long order here. Actually, altogether, this is how we would do it. We'd wait for confirmation. Put our stop loss right here at about 42.5 thousand. Profit is again relative, right? We're just going to basically check how far the move upwards goes. We have a lot of targets which we want to seek and basically conquer, but we're just going to see how that one does. I don't really set price targets like that because I usually mess around with it a little bit. As long as we make profit, we make profit. In times like this, that is, right? Because this is a riskier trades, not the bigger reversal trades which you sometimes take. But I think a lot of different indicators and I guess the entire market is pointing towards the fact that the S&P fell pretty significantly, is picking itself back up, and it's going to continue like that. However, if you didn't catch this nice trade that we would have gotten right here, our reversal trade, which is this one right here, and you didn't catch my previous live stream where we basically got ourselves an entry into XRP at about 76 cents, and you're still not in the trade right now, then I would say the best option is to go for a shorter term trade where we basically catch XRP, for example, the moment we break above, I would have even said right now 77 cents as a whole is actually a fine area to watch for. So the moment we get ourselves a confirming candle, hopefully also above 77, we're going to basically trade it towards about 80 cents or so, all the way towards that level. So opening a long position over on Bybit and trying that out. With a stop loss pretty tight. But just make sure you have a stop loss. That's all I guess I would say about this one. Because these are the riskier moves, but that's also where a lot of money can be made. Because we might get ourselves a nice little position in before a very, very big breakout tomorrow. But as I've stated before, it's a little bit of a scarier period as we could really quickly break back down again. We haven't really built that much support. You can see there's not crazy amounts of support above 40,000.5 anymore. I guess our closest little support area right now is about 42.2 thousand, but our major support lies all the way down at about 40.5, which is again not so nice to see. We're going to build here, we're going to build piece by piece between about 42 and 42.2 thousand, but it's not as strong as we would like to see it. All right, guys, so my thoughts on that. Then again, not finished advice. All right, let's quickly know in the chat box where you guys are watching from. And can you go hear me properly, actually? I usually check everything at the start, but here I didn't check at the start if you guys can actually hear me. Kind of stupid on my end. Maybe nobody has heard what I've said the whole stream. People are just watching my screen move. I didn't check. Can you guys all hear me fine? I think so. I think somebody would have said no sound if there was a problem. Now you guys are saying where you're watching from, so we're good. We're good. That would have been funny if I'd been screaming at nobody for like 18 minutes here. I would have laughed at that, honestly. I would have taken a good laugh at that. Would have made my day. Oh, that would have been funny, man. So yeah, that's for the trading setup, by the way. So those two trades are in the pipeline. I don't think those are bad ideas for Bitcoin and for XRP. Bitcoin, once we break out with confirmation. XRP basically at any point here. To be honest with you, I think even right now might actually be solid. We might face ourselves some resistance here because we've done that a couple of times in the past just now. 1, 2, 3, 4 times on this level. But even right now, I guess we could just open up a long position and basically suppose it's going to break through. Then again, why? I don't know why. I told you all, every single time we open long positions during these live streams, if you're not following along, please don't complain afterwards that you missed it or whatever. Make sure you have the notification bell on my channel as we open these trades live. Everything you're seeing here on this Bybit account, this is my YouTube Bybit account. I specifically made this and put money onto this, about $4,000 worth basically, because that is what everybody can get for absolutely free over on Bybit with the link down below. That's the bonus you can get. And what basically my target was to turn 4,000 bucks into something. It doesn't really matter what, but just showing you guys that it's really possible to do pretty crazy. And here we have a 26,000 XRP position open right now in about $450 profit, hoping to breach this and get some confirmation. But honestly, I have it open because I do think we're going to break out and do quite crazy here on the short term, hoping to hit 80 cents. But I'm, of course, understanding that we can fall right back down. But the upside is more likely. As we've been calling out the BS for a couple of days right now, Bitcoin, I think also opening a long position right now is a very, very solid idea. But that's, again, supposing we're going to break through this time and close above it. If we don't close above it, most likely a sharp little decline straight afterwards. But then again, right now, we're not even at that area yet. We have a couple, I guess, 100 more bucks to go. Could be an easy little swing of about $70 on the Bitcoin price, which is really low. But again, with leverage, that might still turn out to be a nice little number, as we're most likely going to retest that just in a couple of minutes here. Sounds very likely. But that's a nice little scalp, right? Really short term, really small profit. But it depends on where Bitcoin is going to break from there on forward. All right, Powell says Fed report on crypto and central bank digital currency is ready to go. We got that already. Let's talk about this one right here. Ooh, you can always see this one for a little bit, and then they come up with the, you got to pay. It said, Bitcoin moves back to risk asset as stock correlation climbs. I just wanted to show you guys something about the correlation, basically. I've been looking at this for a very long time, and I noticed, really, if you look for the last couple of weeks, one of the most important, I guess, facts about it all is that the correlation between Bitcoin and stocks has really drastically increased. Now, I'm not sure if we'll actually show that in the numbers, but that's mostly because, if you think about it, Bitcoin and the S&P are not necessarily that crazily correlated. I think it's like about 30-35% maybe. So that doesn't necessarily say too much, except for the fact that there is some correlation, because it's still 0.4, it's still 40%, it's still something. But more so in the sense that even though it has a lot of off days, so that throws a number out there, there are really a lot of similarities, specifically during major news events. That's actually one of the most difficult things to put in. I've actually called this out in one of my videos about linear regression, and actually any sorts of regression before. This is like years ago when I made this. But one of the things we put up there is that there's a lot of these small circumstances, basically, which you can't really model properly, and you can't really do too much with. And in this sense here as well, we have so many small factors which indicate whether or not the Bitcoin price is correlated to stocks. One of the major reasons being the amount of news or the severity of the news that comes out, that it's really hard to put any model down or any actual correlation number down, because just looking at the number doesn't really say too much about a lot of different scenarios for Bitcoin. Very often we've seen the S&P has some negative days, Bitcoin goes up, and vice versa. But that's mostly because those are not major events which, for example, coincide with inflation or some Fed announcements. Just some negative day for the S&P, which you can have. Those can just happen. And it doesn't necessarily have to be some for Bitcoin. In the same sense that sometimes if Elon Musk says something bad about Bitcoin, it will go down, and the S&P will be completely fine. Which again is not really measured by anything. It's just by such a heavy degree of manipulation from one small factor, like the human factor. You can't measure that. You can't put it in. And so the correlation number really doesn't hold up in that sense, which I think is also interesting. Spencer says, worried about what Powell is going to come up with, but if they were going to ban crypto, why haven't they done that already? So I don't think they're going to ban crypto altogether. I think partially he might let go of a really important statement regarding stablecoins, which again is a backbone of crypto though. And so that could change the way we, value stablecoins, or the way that which are regulated, or the way that they work. And obviously a full-on ban would be like the worst outcome, but I don't know. Let me take a sip of water. If I can find it, here we go. He answered one of those questions when somebody asked him, can a CBDC and a stablecoin live together, basically, a private stablecoin? He said, no. That's where the worries come in from. If he didn't say that, I would have been completely neutral, but that specific announcement makes things really scary. Really scary. All right. Let's see. Let's move on. So what do we have here? January effect. Bitcoin tightens. Correlation with the S&P. All right, that's just a story I made for you guys a little second ago, right? Which is basically that the correlation is hard to measure, but it is getting higher and higher and higher. And one of the fun facts about that is that whenever the stock market goes down, right now it kind of feels as if it's like almost always right to just short Bitcoin as well. because it's like it works almost all the time. Then again, one of the numbers you got to realize for yourself as well has to do, for example, with crypto quant here, with the exchange flows, exchange reserves, and whatnot. I took a look at a lot of these numbers, and one of the things which becomes really quite apparent is the fact that regardless of the Bitcoin price, as it currently stands from about, let's see here, the end of July on forward, the amount of money on exchanges basically has only depleted. And that's actually a really funny concept as well, in the sense that the more that Bitcoin, I guess, gets adopted right now, which you can, from a certain perspective, see this as an inverse chart to Bitcoin adoption. The more that Bitcoin gets adopted, or crypto as a whole, the lower the reserves will be on exchanges, most likely. And one of the fun facts is that it doesn't necessarily matter how much the price goes, but it's also, again, as I just said, it's funny to see that 1-to-1, or I guess I should say 1-to--1, where there's literally a negative correlation between the adoption in Bitcoin, which just keeps going up, exponential, and the exchange reserves. But the exchange reserves, they're basically the sell pressure naturally. So the lower this number is, the lower the sell pressure, the more bullish you should get. And another little indicator or fact to understand from it is that this, from a certain perspective, does not say anything, because obviously somebody can put in $100 million straight it off instantly on an exchange or even OTC and not do anything with this. So it's just like for show. But a lot of people hold some weight to it, and it does make a lot of sense as well, because this is the readily available crypto on a certain exchange. And why would you take it off if you're planning to sell it soon anyway? You might say, yeah, to sell it somewhere else. Well, but then you still keep it on an exchange most of the time until you either are going to sell it or it's going to be another exchange that you sell it on. So the only thing we're excluding here is, for example, OTC. But then from a certain perspective, a lot of exchange reserves as well are just from people who would never sell it as well. So it's like, if you kind of deduct those two things, the people who keep the money on exchanges who never want to sell, and the people who actually take it out because they are planning to sell it somewhere else, in that middle time we take the snapshot, then we basically are left with the amount of money that's on exchanges that is readily available to sell, just the natural number which we expect it to be. And as long as it keeps decreasing, there's less and less sell pressure, which is really bullish. It's a little number that not that many people look at on a day-to-day basis, but it's something you got to remember for yourself. This is a really important number, and it's always nice to see it in, I guess, a downwards little motion. Nessic says, am I too late for Polygon? In this video, no Polygon talk. We talked about Polygon pretty severely over on the channel a couple hours ago. If you didn't check it out, just check the channel and check the latest video. I made a complete update on Polygon and everything that's happening right now, as Polygon is by far one of the best cryptocurrencies for 2022. And then one more little announcement, guys. If you haven't checked out Bybit just quite yet, you might want to do so right now. I'm making a video on this in a couple of hours from now. But basically, there's a token called GGM. What it does, well, I've read it now, so I know. But I don't think many people need to care or need to know what it does. It's basically a play-to-earn token that's going to launch on the Bybit Launchpad. And you know, your boy Dusty BC, he hooks you guys up with some of these tokens, which do amazingly. In a couple of hours, guys, make sure you have the notification bell on for that. There's going to be a video. Oh, I see XP pumping up a little bit. Or at least we're still doing good. I'm actually seeing 77.33, so it's not actually a crazy pump just quite yet. We're still waiting for that to happen. I wanted to say, there's a video coming out in a couple of hours where I basically explain to you guys how exactly to get this token. But generally speaking, the majority of tokens I show on this channel that are launching, that I call 10x potential, they usually do really well. So even though I cannot give you financial advice, nor do I really want to, I can give you a little hint of logic, which is do some research into some of the stuff I tell you all about, read into it a little bit. There's a little story that you can just easily read for yourself and you'll understand everything you need to know about how these things work. But generally speaking, it's pretty hard to lose money on these as long as you do things strategically. And that's again what I show you guys over on this channel how to do. So once more, is it completely 100% foolproof? No. Can you lose money? Yes. Is there a high probability of this token doing well? Yes. Is there a higher probability that we're going to 10x our money than that we're going to lose money? Yes, as well. The only thing is we usually can't buy that much of it, which is the smaller problem. But then again, I'm pretty excited about this project. So yeah, I definitely would tell people look into it if you can, as it's very easy to make money with that. Christian says, been watching your channel for a while now. I love the bullishness. You know, one of the main reasons I keep bullish and stay bullish is because it's literally the most logical option right now. There's so much manipulation. There's so many people trying to take it down for some unknown reason to me. But if we look at the fundamentals of things, there's more and more adoption coming up every single day. The numbers on the most of those cryptos look better and better by the day. And a lot of this downwards pressure is just manipulation, if you ask me, because why would the Bitcoin price move in the same one-to-one correlation to stocks? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would the Bitcoin price go down when some inflation measures are being put into stone? From a certain perspective, right? If we're talking about increased rates, interest rates, you can say that that's a negative thing for Bitcoin as they're trying to combat the inflation. And again, it's entirely a very negative circumstance for the entire economy. You can't say it's negative for Bitcoin as well because inflation is good for Bitcoin, as dollar inflation shows the necessity for Bitcoin. Then again, since raising interest rates is a bearish incentive for the entire market, I explained this before, right? The macroeconomic theory behind that. If you raise interest rates, borrowing money becomes more expensive, saving becomes more likable. So people will spend less and companies will invest less, which basically gets the production down, gets consumption down. Things just basically move into a negative spiral from there on forward because prices move down as well to combat the lesser spending because people are willing to spend less and less innovation, less everything just goes down. It's like a downward spiral. So again, one of the best measures to get things rolling again is to lower the interest rates. That's how you get economic, flourishness. It's the conjunctural switches, right? We talked about that before. And right now, you might even say, though, that because they're going to raise it, there's a bullish case and a bearish case for Bitcoin. I can explain both sides to you, as I just did, I think. The bullish side is, let me rephrase that. So the bearish side is that the economy just is in a really bad spot if they're having to do this. So that's usually bad for most things people invest in, which is also Bitcoin. And the bullish narrative, from a certain perspective, is if they're doing something to combat, I guess there's actually two negative scenarios, huh? Because you can think about it from that perspective that they just mentioned, or they mentioned that because they're raising interest rates, which is to combat inflation, that's bad for Bitcoin because the inflation was inherently good. But you can actually also say the bullish side, which is basically that if they're raising interest, they're going to screw up the economy, which is good for Bitcoin. Yeah, and the fact there's such a high inflation, which is also kind of good for Bitcoin in the background, so they're trying to fix it, shows again the fact that Bitcoin is kind of good. I don't know, that's just my thoughts on the matter. All right, thoughts on FTM. Phantom, I think, is one of the best projects out there. Crazy good they're doing the last couple of weeks. I think I made a couple of mentions in my videos recently, but I'll do a video on FTM pretty soon here, as I think it's one of the best contenders for 2022 as well. There's quite a lot of different crypto which I just generally speaking think are really great holds. Cardano is also a great hold, Solana is a great hold, FTM is a great hold, Algo is a great hold, I think, Luna is a great hold, Avalanche is a great hold. A lot of these DeFi top gems right now at the top already seem like they'll just keep doing well over 2022 as the fundamentals are set in stone, and DeFi tokens I think right now are one of the safest bets, purely from the perspective that, well, depending on how crazy the crypto markets can go, these things will of course change their course a little bit, but generally speaking, crypto go up, crypto go down, there's always DeFi. So from that perspective, yeah, those are kind of safer. Also, another realm that I really heavily get into right now is Metaverse. Obviously, Metaverse tokens, regardless of bull or bear run, should be doing well the moment that Meta, aka Facebook's new name, gets an announcement going. And so we can kind of speculate on that. And XRP, of course, whenever XRP's also gets fixed, crazy pump. There's like a lot of different coins which can do well regardless of where the crypto market is about to go. And I'm focusing on a couple of different things I've shown on the channel. But I make a video on if I had a $500 portfolio or a $1,000 portfolio right now, what coins I'd pick. But mind you, I'd rather pick 18 coins or 20 coins rather than just pick 5, as I think it's better for spreading your risk. But there's a different theory about that altogether, which will come out a little bit later in another video. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this stream, make sure you press that like button. I did my best to get to you guys all the news here that we have. I don't want to waste too much of y'all's time, though, and for all the people that are watching this stream after it's already done, I don't want to waste too much time. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you press that like button. And I'll just make a couple of videos here talking about all my tokens and everything that I would personally think is best to have in my portfolio. But specifically that little, if I had $500, what would I buy right now? But I think I might do 1,000 because that's easier to make a nice little bag. We have rounder numbers. But let me know what you guys would like to see on the channel next. I'll get to it. And thank you guys all so much for stopping by, saying hi. You guys are all amazing. And once more, make sure you press the like button if you enjoyed it. Adios, amigos.